Hi guys, it's me, it's Key, and I'm quarantining and chilling. Um, it's a restful, peaceful, relaxing day. But today I'm going to talk about like my encounters with God from worship service this morning. Pastor was like, share with people, and I do, because just the other day I was telling my daughter like one of my encounters with God. And I'm gonna share with you guys. Um, I'm gonna try to think. I'm gonna try to go in order, but it may not happen that way depending on my noggin. But um, from what I told, I was born into a Muslim relationship, marriage, and that was that. I don't remember none of that, but I do know that my parents were Muslim. I don't remember them being Muslim, but from the stories and pictures and stuff like that. But when they separated and got divorced, um, I believe my dad always associate with being a Muslim, but um, my dad didn't like dress in a attire or like go to those things like from my memory. Plus, my dad was always at work. If you know me as a child, my dad was either at work or softball, bowling, something like that. He was always busy. And my mom, I, you know, I always see my mom like, now as a child, I don't remember her speaking about anybody, but um, when I started seeing her speak about people, it was always the Lord, with God. But with me, being living with my dad and being at my grandparents' house a lot, my grandparents took us to church. And I remember my grandma used to go to Tuesday night prayer service. And I remember being there and I remember them singing. And I felt this feeling in my heart. And I was about 10. And I, 9 or 10. And it just was like an emotional feeling. It felt good, but it was like an emotional feeling. And I was like, wow. And I'm listening to the words. And I like to go to Tuesday night prayer service with her because first off, I adored her and I looked up to her and stuff like that. But I always like that. I'm the type of person that like journal and writing and stuff like that. And it was like, I always see people taking notes and like, really into it. So um me and my brother joined at a Tuesday night prayer service. But that's from being at that one of those prayer service on Tuesday night, that was the first feeling I felt in my heart. So, and I always remember that. I always remember that feeling like it felt good. It felt good. And when my grandma was like, we can go up there and join, like I was so happy to do that. I was so happy to do that. And then when me and my brother got baptized, I was excited. I was so excited. And back then, churches, I mean, I don't know all churches, but churches would baptize early in the morning. So we had to be there early in the morning before church. And they sung this song, Wade in the Water. And that song, again, I mean, not to say that song like it was the same song, but it was a song. And that feeling entered my heart again. it just made being baptized that day so much more special. And he was like singing it and stuff, and in my heart I was just like, wow. And so that's like when I became an adult and I joined the church that I go to. That's why I did Christian Experience, because I really remember when I was baptized, even though I was 10, and I know some people like to say they want to do it over because it's their choice, but it wasn't my choice, but I was in total agreement to it all. So that's why I joined my church as Christian Experience. And yeah, and I'm singing way in the water, and they was like, come to the water. It was just so emotional. The singing was so emotional for me. And being in church as a child, I was a junior usher, a junior pastor aide. I only sung on a women's day choir. I didn't sing on a children's choir. But the singing of the church was my favorite thing. That's what, like, put me in that, like, that mood, that it was always the singing, the praise, that's what does it for me. And that's what I always adored as a child. And I remember one time our church taking a trip to New York, and back then we went to New York, but we went to like this mega church. Like, it was already a mega church in New York, like back then. Because I remember when we got there, the church was big. And when the choirs was singing and stuff, oh my goodness. I don't know how old I was, but I know I was still a little girl. And I went with my grandparents. I was the only child that went with my grandparents to that church in New York. So when we was there, like, and the singing and stuff got to me again. But this time I started crying. I was crying. And I remember, this is what I was telling my daughter the other day. And I remember, like, adults, they was, they thought it was cute, because I remember them being in my face like, oh, is she, and my grandfather was like, leave her alone. And then he like, I remember my grandfather took me outside to get some air. But yeah, like, the singing and praising again, but I remember that, like, it brought tears to me, and I was a little girl, and I just knew I loved the Lord. My grandma gifted me a Bible, and also our church gifted, like, all the children, like, these Bibles. So I had 2 Bibles. I remember one was blue, and it was like from the church, it was a gift from the church, and one was brown, it was a gift from my grandma. And I still got the one from my grandma. It's a regularly mess, but I still got it. And as a child, yes, I would read my Bible. Now, back then, I didn't read it like, I basically read, like, the scriptures that my church, like, said all the time, the different scriptures. I remember 1 Corinthians, though, that was one of them. 1 Corinthians 13. I remember that being one of them. And I would, read certain ones all the time, though. All the time I would read them. And I love the Lord. And I remember I would read the Bible to, other people. Well, other, children or whatever. And I remember it was this guy on my dad block. His family were, Christian. And I remember one time their son, I don't know, he was on like some type of punishment or something, but he had to sit outside and read the Bible. And I was the only child that would sit there. I sat there and listened. His name was Jody. um, his name was Jody. Um, yep, he was out there reading the Bible, and I was sitting there listening to him read the Bible. His dad made him sit out there and read it out loud. But I knew I loved the Lord. I just knew I loved the Lord. And I grew with that. And as teenagers, I think when I turned 16, my grandparents, I think that's when they just, they didn't force us to go to church or whatever. But so I didn't go too much. I went sometimes. I would be like, I'm going to church. But I never stopped reading my Bible. Now, back then, gospel songs probably was on the radio, but I didn't know about it. And they wasn't on the radio stations that I listened to. So I didn't really hear gospel music, but I always read my Bible. I remember in high school, I would get up in the morning, and that's when I decided to read. I wanted to read the Bible from cover to cover. So when I was in high school, a lot of people don't know this, but my cousin BB may remember, because I used to get up early, and I read one chapter every morning. Yes, I did. Yep. And I read one chapter every morning. I believe it took me 3 years and some change to get through the whole Bible. I believe that's how long it took, and that was the first time I read the Bible from cover to cover. And I always read my Bible, even during the times when I wasn't going to church, especially as a young adult, when I fell off, and I may have fell off, but I always knew God was with me, and I always knew He was with me. I always knew He was protecting me. I did. My childhood Sunday school teacher, her name was Sister Matt. And I remember one time, I don't know what I was crying about as a child, but I remember her telling me to recite, Satan, I rebuke you in the name and in the blood of Jesus. She said, recite that and God will take care of you. And I did. I always did that. I always did that. Whenever I felt fear, I recited it, whether it was out loud or in my head. I recited it, and God comforted me. Always did. So, and that always made me feel like God was always with me and always protecting me. But then, as I grew and stuff, and learning more about God and becoming more seasoned and stuff. So, as a young adult, all I really had was I would read my Bible here and there, and always kept that, quote in my heart when I felt fear. I remember one time as a young adult having a dream, and it was a dream that I was dating the devil, and he killed me, and that scared me. So I'm like, I need to go back to church. And during that same time, my high school girlfriends, we never lost touch, but back then we didn't have Facebook and all that. So sometimes, we would go, long time without talking to each other or whatever. But Tarana and Barbara both called me. They was they've been thinking about me, they've been worried about me, and So we was talking. So we all decided that we wanted to find a church, whatever. So we were, church hopping around and stuff like that. And then I remember one time Tarana calling me and telling me, see, I remember all this stuff because I write in my journals. And I have still a lot of my journals. I told my children they can have those journals when I'm gone. And if they need to write a book and make some money, do your thing. But I remember Tarana calling me saying she had a dream about me, that I was dating Satan. That was it. That was it. I don't even think I told her my dream because I didn't know if she would believe it. Like, I had the same dream. But I knew for the simple fact that I had the dream and she had the dream, it was time to get it together. So, but all the churches that I visited, I was not feeling it. I was falling asleep. But I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling them at all. Because sometimes I get tired in my own church and I may dip off, but I be feeling my church. But I wasn't feeling none of those churches. I wasn't feeling, it wasn't getting me. I even went back to my childhood church and, it was just so different now. So many people passed away and I was just struggling with that. But I started reading my Bible again. Started reading my Bible. And I started praying every night with my daughter. It was just me and Bria. But we would just say the prayer, I was basically teaching her. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And we would say that every night. And I would read my Bible and still looking for a church. Now, a very close friend of our family, passed. And at his funeral, went to his funeral. This is Richard. So when at Richard's funeral, this preacher preached, and that's what I was looking for. I understood what he was talking about. Like, he was young. I understood him, and not just I understood him. I had conversations with other people that was there at the funeral, and they was like, "Oh, he was good." And then after the funeral, he was standing outside and he was handing out cards, and he was like, come visit me at my church. I took a card, and yes, this pastor was Pastor Waller. I took a card. The church wasn't what it is today, but I took his card, and when I got home, I called my girlfriend Fana and I told her about it or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to go visit this church Sunday. And she went with me, her and her boyfriend, and, Bria and their kids. And we all went to church. And when I went in E9, this is E9 on Culture Street, I felt at home. I don't know why, but I did. Now, my childhood church name was E9. But it was like when I walked in E9, I already felt at home. I didn't meet nobody. Service ain't even start, but I felt at home. It was like a different feeling from visiting those other churches. And so, we went to church or whatever. Pastor Waller wasn't there that day. Somebody else preached. But I liked the way, it went. I felt at home. And I joined that day. Yep, I joined that day. Plus, I was just ready. I was ready. So I began to go to church, and, you had to take the classes or whatever and stuff like that. And the church was small back then, because I remember that people, you would go and it was testimony time in the morning. And but Pastor Waller, like when he would be preaching, or even when he be using his Bible. See, I had a King James Bible. And I'm like, his Bible is different. I'm like, what is this Bible he reading from? Because the words were easier. And I'm like, I need to find out what that is. And I remember him saying one day, like he said the scripture, and he said NIV version. I remember that, and I was like, and I wrote it down. I was like, NIV version. I didn't know. So I went to the bookstore, and I asked the salesperson. I'm like, I'm looking for an NIV. She was like, an NIV Bible. And she took me in, to the Bible section. It was in the bag. And I seen all kinds of Bibles. I was like so amazed. It was crazy. I was like so amazed. I don't know how long I was in that bookstore. I remember Maria had to go to bed from everything. She was a child. She had to go to bed. I had to leave, take her to the bathroom, come back, because I just was so amazed. I'm looking at all these Bibles, looking through them and all that. But I did know, I'm like, I'm going to make sure I get an NIV, though, because that's what Pastor Waller, I'm like, I can understand that for some reason. And, yeah, I got me a Bible. I got Bria a children's Bible. I was so amazed that they had like children's Bible, teen Bibles, just different ages, women's Bible, men's Bible, all kinds of stuff. I was just amazed. And that's what started my journey on buying people Bibles, because I had bought a lot of Bibles for people, and I'm quite sure they would let yeah, Keisha bought me a Bible, and I would try, when I would go pick out these Bibles, I would try to keep that person's personality in mind. Yes, that's why I love buying people Bibles, because I'm like, it's so many Bibles out there, so many versions, so many kinds, I didn't order special Bibles, But yeah, I was so amazed, and I was so happy. So I had my first NIV Bible, and Bria had her little children's Bible. It was so cute. And I remember me and Fina, we would read the Bible over the phone and stuff. So I really jumped back into like reading the Bible, and not just reading like my favorite scriptures. And with that Bible, I just decided to do cover to cover again. So that's what I was doing. And, still growing in my face now. Back then, I'll tell you the truth, when I first joined E9, I used to hear people say they got to get their life together before they go back to church. Now, I knew my life wasn't together. Let me tell y'all something. I used to, that's probably good enough. I mean, we can start messing with it. I just don't like now, because couldn't see myself. I'm already half blind. But I used to smoke weed on my way to church. Yep, I did. It's not funny, but I'm silly. See, a lot of people ain't know I used to smoke weed, because I used to smoke Black and Milds. And the reason I started smoking Black and Milds is because it was a young girl smoking this Black and Mild. And I took it from her. I was like, you don't need to be smoking that. And it was in my pocketbook. It was in my pocketbook for days. And one day I just was like sitting outside, lit it, and became addicted. So that's why they say don't even try it, because that's how you get addicted. Don't be out there trying coke. Like I always told my kids when they was little, I'll be like, drugs got to be good. This is why people out there acting like they act, spending all their money, killing each other, because it's good. It gives them a good feeling. I don't lie to my kids. Drugs is bad. It's good. And that's why they out there doing any and everything for it. So don't even try it, because when you try it, You may like it. And of course, in the beginning, you're going to think you can handle it. And then, bada boom, bada bam. My kids will tell you, I told them, drugs got to be good. Got to be. But it's bad for you. But, yeah. Took it from her, started smoking Black and Milds. So, it was this guy. I mean, I wasn't like a big, heavy weed smoker. Like, me and my girlfriend smoked weed a couple of times, just trying to, hang out or whatever. It was like a couple of times. None of us was big one smoking weed and stuff. And sometimes I would smoke weed with Jazz, my father. So and sometimes I would smoke weed with him. So, but when I started smoking weed on my own, it was this guy, and he sold weed, and he used to like me. And it was a girl that lived on my block, and sometimes like me and her would smoke weed sometimes. This guy, one day I came home from work and it was just like marijuana in my mailbox. It's like, did you get that? And I was like, yeah. So I had it or whatever. And then like one day, I twisted the Black and Mild, so the stuff can come out, and put the marijuana in there. So it would be like just some marijuana in the Black and Mild. So when I was smoking my Black and Milds, it was like marijuana in it. And then, yeah. So, and when I joined church, like, cause I would smoke a Black and Mild in the morning. And, yeah. But like they say, when you go to church is a hospital. It's a hospital full of sick people. So that's another thing I hate. I hate when people be like, ain't nothing but a bunch of sinners in church. No, it's a bunch of us sinners in there just like looking for the antidote, trying to get it together. And just like with regular hospitals, sometimes you go in a hospital, you get that antidote, you get healed, but that person probably don't get healed because they probably suffering and struggling. Everybody suffer and struggle different. But I always say I'd rather see a pimp in a church than see him on the street, because at least he trying. At least he trying, and at least he believe. Shoot. So, and I didn't hide the fact, that I smoked. I remember Reverend Jackson. So he knew that I smoked or whatever. And one day he prayed with me. He didn't judge me, and that's what I like. He just was like, we gonna pray that them cigars away. And I was like, okay. And we did. We prayed one day. And it didn't happen the next day. It didn't. But it eventually happened. It eventually happened. Years later. But it happened. And that's how it works with faith. And with, everybody's journey is different. Everybody. I was just telling my other daughter father last night. I was like, every journey, there's no time limit on a journey, so you never know how long a season is going to last. You never know. You don't know how long that season is going to last. And then sometimes you even forget about it, and then it dawned on you that you was delivered. You be like, wow. All I say, just keep praying. That's what I do. But a lot of chains have fell off me on my, on my walk with Christ growing up. But then being in the church and the music again. So that's why I know. That's why I hate being late. I hate missing praise and worship, because that's my favorite part, praise and worship, and when the choir sing. that's who I am. Just like sometimes we don't know why this person like pickles or this person don't like pickles because we different. But I need that. I like my praise and worship. Yeah, yes, I'm one of those. I be jamming with it and singing and getting emotional sometimes, but that's what does it for me. And yeah, and then I'll be like quiet doing a sermon. I'll be learning from the sermon, but would be putting me in that like Holy Ghost feeling is the praise and worship, the songs, the songs. Now when what I can remember Stomp. I can't remember if it was something before Stomp, but when Stomp was made and was played on the radio, it had to been before I joined the church as an adult. But that was the song. Everybody's song. Now that's when I remember gospel music starting to get like either or playing on the radio to my attention and on the stations that I listen to, Power 99 but Stomp, and then different little gospel songs just be playing, we be jamming to them, and I love those songs, and I still do. I love gospel songs. I love them. But music does it for me. Gospel music does it for me. It does it for me. It ministers to me. It talks to me. It relieves me. But yeah, those encounters with God. I'm trying to think, it's been others. It's been others. Encounters with God. But one thing about my life, when I look back over it, I say, God was protecting me from day one. From day one. I mean, at some points in my life, I've been through some things, but God was there. I mean, I've been through some things where, like, I was hurt. But the journey of those things have led to how can I say, like, led me to like the rainbow, a rainbow. It has taught me, made me stronger, made me understand, played a part in how I raised my children. That's why Jasmine, she told everybody, you don't know what people going through, because I always taught my kids like that. Like, we're not going to laugh at people. We're not going to talk about people, because we don't know what people going through. You never know what somebody's going through. Just because you see this person, you work with this person every day, you don't know. You don't know what some people are going through. And so many people hold on to things and they don't talk about it. And just read my aunt book, my aunt Vanessa. Read her book. I never knew, that, and like people say, how people be like, I could write a book. I believe everybody could write a book or write about some time in their life that, make the world have compassion for them. And then not that people be, looking for like a bunch of sympathy, but some people just need to get it out. But some people just not ready to get it out or don't know how to get it out. They don't. But one thing I do know is God can do anything. You can't tell me He can do anything. He can do anything. I remember I seen a post It was something funny talking about can't turn a hoe into a housewife. But look at her now. Corona got her in the house or whatever. But no, God can turn a hoe into a housewife. God can take that promiscuous teenager, young adult, just because you knew them as being promiscuous, or don't mean they can't grow out of it. That don't mean, or that's how you want to keep looking at them, because you knew them as a promiscuous person. So now that they're an adult and they settle down, you want to say stuff like, no, God can do anything for anybody. God will turn that promiscuous person, yes, and make them into a housewife. And that's a good thing, because why would you want to still see that person being out there? Why they got to still be out there? Because they was out there when they was young. Why? Just celebrate the fact that that's good. That's good. This person calm down. That's good. God bless her. Well, God bless him. Because they always call a woman a hoe. I hate to say it, but I think men are the worst hoes. And, that's my opinion. I think men are the worst hoes. But we always say about men, when they settle down, we don't say stuff like that. We don't say like, oh, he found, he gonna settle down now after he done hold around. We don't say that. You know how we say it? We say, oh, he grew up. So why we can't say that about the female? Because we say that when a holy man settled down, we be like, oh, he matured, he grew up, he changed. But when it comes to the female, it's like people be waiting for her to fail. It's like, can't turn a hoe into a housewife. But yeah, God saved me from some things. He delivered me from some things. I believe he put me through some things to teach me some things, to humble me. It's one thing I say. Sometimes we don't understand what God is doing, but sometimes He'll tell us, this is what I was doing all along. This is what I was doing all along. But you didn't know, but I'm glad you hung in there. You can't put a time limit on nobody's deliverance. Nobody's deliverance. Can't. But yeah, the song, like, oh, the Lord, they really touch me. They really speak to me. Encounters with the Lord. I remember those encounters as children, and that those dreams just had to be God. It had to be. Oh, my best encounter with God was Jasmine. Jasmine was like 3. And she said, Mom, I put a staple in my ear. And some people remember, I know Bree remember this. And she said, I put a staple in my ear. That's what she said. So I said, what? You did what? She said, it's a staple in my ear. Little child 3. So you like, did she know what she's talking about? So I'm looking in her ear, with a flashlight. I don't see nothing or whatever. I'm looking around to see if there's any staples around. I don't see nothing or whatever. So, yeah, I brushed her off because she's 3. I didn't know if she knew what she was talking about with a staple being in her ear. And Jasmine used to get, well, she still, yearly. Back then she had to get them every 6 months, but I think she's on a year or every 2 year because she's doing much better. But the CAT scan and stuff like that, where you got to go on that machine, MRIs and of her brain, because she high risk for stroke. And so you can't have medals on and all that when you going into that machine. And so we there at our regular time for her to get her test done. And they always ask any medals, anything, and I'm like, no, 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 no. And being that she was a child, with the children, they put them to sleep so they won't move. And so they didn't already drugged her up, and she was asleep. And so they about to take her back. So when they was about to take her back, I was gonna go outside. It was a nice day, so it was at Children's Hospital. I said, I'm gonna go sit outside, because it always used to take a while. And so I went to sit outside, and I'm gonna say about 20 minutes later, my phone just kept ringing. I finally heard it ringing. When I looked at it, it was missed calls, and I'm like, hello. They like, Miss Joseph, where are you? I was like, oh, I went to sit outside. And they was like, they said every time we roll the bed, well, they asked me to come in or whatever. I went back in, and then they explained to me every time she was back in the room. So they was like, every time we roll the bed near the door where the machine was at, not in the room with the machine, but near the door, they said she keep grabbing her ear. And they was like, she keep grabbing, even in being drugged up sleep, they said she keep grabbing her ear. Every time the bed go near the door, she was grabbing her ear. Are you sure it's anything? I'm like, and it dawned on me. I said, she told me one day it was a staple in her ear. Jesus. Like, I'm getting emotional because that staple could have did to my baby brain, and that if that machine would have dragged that staple through, that was God. She was drugged up, and I'm telling you, when she used to get drugged up, she used to be out. Even after the procedure, she used to be out, like just out, like God. Y'all just don't know. That doctor went and got like his equipment, because my little flashlight ain't do it. He looked in there. See what he pulled out. Staple. He pulled out a staple. Yeah, I feel emotional right now because that wasn't nothing but God. That wasn't nothing but God. That could have been real ugly. That wasn't nothing but God. Encounter with God. I knew that was God. I just praise God for that, because that baby told me it was a staple in her ear. And there was another time too that was real special to me. I just missed a car crash. Came this close. And I believe it would have been a bad car crash. Bad. And my children were in the back seat. I jumped out the highway. See, where I used to live at, they used to race on the street, the Cow Pike. Always racing. It was always accidents. I missed it by that much. And truthfully, I didn't even see him coming. But I heard the speed. I heard the speed. And something just was like I moved out the lane, like into like if I was parking. My children were in the back seat. God, counsel with God. Thinking about this stuff, it make me emotional. But it's a lot in my life that I know it was God intervening. Well, my whole life is, he the one created me. He the one had me in mind. I'm just glad, he chose to save me and that I knew him and stuff like that. I don't even want to imagine like being a person that like never knew him, never met him, or grew up in a like family that didn't know, because some people just don't know because that's not what their family into. They don't know, so how they gonna know God? That's not what their family do. And then they're not gonna hear about him from school. So, but it's a lot. Like, I believe I can go on and on and on, on and on and on. On and on and on. Yeah, I have had some special moments with God. And not just from him doing things like that, because it's like other stuff, It's like other stuff. Like how he take care of me and stuff. Like just like now that I think about it, because I said I was going, I was going to tithe this week because God has blessed me this week. He blessed me with an awesome father. I got beautiful children, even though they irk me. I got a beautiful family. So, yeah, it ain't all like, where it's like, life saving or something like that, but counselors. And I also believe that you can go do something because it's going to help somebody else. Because it's all to help somebody else. Like, yeah, let me tell y'all this. This is going to be my last one. Because I'm pushing on an hour. But this, man, when I started going to E9, I lived in Germantown. And, Poultry Street, the old E9 is Germantown. So we used to walk to church. Then I moved to Montgomery County. And our church attendance our church attendance, fell down to 50% when I first moved out Montgomery County. But we still try to make it. And we started going Saturday night service. So when, I started getting involved in the Saturday night. So, because I'm like, I can get there, with the kids and everything, And then Bria joined the junior missionaries. So then that helped because they met on Saturdays. They did what they did on Saturdays. So then we would stay for Saturday service. And it was all perfect. Jasmine was still too young to join anything. But, so then the church moved up Shottingham. So now we already in our pattern, but, and then my church attendance improved. Because I remember, one time I wanted to be there on a Sunday for some reason. I was like, I'm gonna go to Sunday service, and I got me and my kids up, and we got there. So then I was like, oh, I can do this. So we started going on Sundays. Mind you, I didn't have a car at that time. Yes, we used to leave out the house at 5:30 a.m. 5:30 a.m. Walk to the train station, and I'm talking about this. This walk wasn't around the corner or down the street. We walked 5:30 in the morning to the train station. Me and my little kids, and whatever other little kids that was with me, because my house always had kids in it. We walked to the train station, 6 a.m. train, and I know some people probably think like, you have them kids out. No, this is how it went down. Yeah, they got up early. They got dressed. We walked to the train station. We was on that train ride for 20-25 minutes. We all slept. That was our first 20-25 minute nap. Then we had to get on the 65. There was another like half an hour ride. Another nap. So they got their naps in before we got there. And then, like, this is when the small church. Yeah, I cut ahead saying that the church moved, but this is when the small church was growing, and there was different services. So me, I wanted to be in the sanctuary up front, and remember back then, all the kids would go to their Sunday school classrooms while we was in service. So I would get there at 9 a.m. But I didn't go to 9 a.m. service because 9 a.m. service was already packed. That line was already long. You would have been somewhere else in that church. I used to get there at 9 a.m. Me and my children went to the store, got food, snacks, whatever, just to stand in line. Yes, to stand in line through 9 a.m. service so we can be the first ones in there for 11 o'clock service. So I can get my seat. I can get them signed in the Sunday school and go get a good seat. And that was our thing. And that's what we did. And whoever went with me, they did it with me. And I remember one child that went with me, she was like, she told her parent, we left last night. Because we left. It was still dark outside when we left. She thought we left last night, that poor child. But that was my thing. So now I'm used to it. We going every Sunday now because I didn't got it down pat. And so then, the church moved to Cheltenham. So we just used to come to, 10 o'clock service or whatever. Unless it was a situation where they had rehearsal or something like that was on a Saturday, then I would, to save car fare, I would be like, well, we're going to go to Saturday service since none of us have to be here on Sunday, like the children, because they all was like in different things and stuff like that by that time. But remember, I said at the old church, the kids would be in Sunday school while we was in service. But when we moved to the big building, Sunday school was earlier. So Jasmine like, what's up? I'm not going to Sunday school because we was only leaving like just going to church. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know, So that I had to start getting that child. I had to get my baby to Sunday school. She wanted to go. I had to get my baby to Sunday school. I did not play. And I remember one time she was even absent for Sunday school when she was like, can you write me a note? She was like, can you write me a note? Because I was absent last week. You're not going to be messing up my stickers. Because that's Sunday school teacher used to give out stickers. She like, period. You're not going to be interfering with my stickers. I ain't write the note, but it just was so cute that she wanted me to write her a note for being absent. But I had to get my baby to Sunday school because that's what she wanted. And so I'm getting to it. I'm getting to the encounter, how God used you. So at one point during church, I did have a car. So I had a car that was even much better, You got to sleep a little longer because then I had a car. But then that car crashed. And so we back on the bus. So I remember like when the car crashed, my sister was like, "You going to church?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "How you getting to church?" And I was like, they must have forgot. I used to catch the bus. A car don't stop no show. I said the train and the bus like I used to do. And she was like, "Oh, whatever." So me and my children were back on the train, back on that hustle, back on that journey. Now one day it was snowing. The snow was coming down. I woke the kids up and I said, "Do y'all want to go to church? Y'all don't have to go." They all wanted to go because they was singing. It was youth weekend and they were singing. And plus after church, we was going to that church in West Philly. And I believe they still do it once a year, And they wanted to go. So, I had to bundle them up. They had on boots, like snow boots, coat. We had it all, and it wasn't just my two. It was my goddaughter Nora was with us, because at that time she was basically with us all the time, and so when we got there, they didn't have on their black shoes like the choir's supposed to wear. Because they had on boots, and I didn't feel like carrying. That was just more stuff for me to carry, traveling with kids, and how far I had to travel. I had to walk to the train station, catch the train, catch the 65, then catch the XH. So we had to do all that to get there. So we, they singing. After church, we go to the other church. The van brings us back to the church. So while we on the van, I'm sitting with the adults or whatever. And one of the ladies, so they talking about, different things. And one of the ladies said, I don't know who mom. She said, it's white shirt, black skirt, black shoes. She said, did you see those kids had on boots? And she said, and the one little girl had on big furry boots. Right in my face, she was talking about me. Right in my face, she didn't know. But see, I'm saying it was God, because listen. So I let her, say it all, get it out of her system, and then I said, I let them wear their boots because of my travel. I said it's snowing, it's cold. I don't have a car, and I catch a train and 2 buses to church. And I said, yeah, and when y'all drop us back off, we have to go back home in this snow weather. I said, and I just didn't feel like putting their black shoes on. You can imagine how that turned out. She was like, oh no. When we got back to the church, I believe it was quiet on that van after that. When we got back to the church, all of a sudden, she found me a ride home. She did. Me with my daughter with the big furry boots, who was out of dress code. Look, this child wanted to come to church because I wasn't going to come. They wanted to come and serve the Lord. But that was one thing. See, that's what I'm saying. See how God used you. Use you. But then another thing with my journey and my travel, so a lot of people started finding out about my journey because I never would tell people about my journey. A lot of people start finding out about my journey. So this one lady comes up to me one Sunday in church, and I didn't know her. She just was like, I know you travel to get here every Sunday morning. And she said, you always here with those children, and you always on time. And she said, and I live right around the corner, and I'm always late. And she said, I'll be looking at you. And I said, if I'm late again, and she said she lived around the corner and she drive. And she was like, I was her testimony. See, counters with God. I didn't even know she was watching me like that. I didn't even know she knew about my journey. But that's what she came to me and she wanted to tell me that because of my journey, that I used to be on church on time. Because yes, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're trifling. That's how I raised my children. Yes. And I don't care if you don't like it. It's the truth in this household. But see, encounters with God. That's what I'm saying. It's probably it could be so many. I probably can just go on and on, but that's what Pastor said. He said, tell some of your stories. So I figured I'd make a video. I made other videos, so I was going to make this one. So if you find that I was rambling and you didn't understand something, or if I mentioned something and I didn't finish it, just comment, let me know, and I comment. But those were some of my encounters with God. And yes, like I said, it's others, and but that was some. And I like sharing those with y'all. And just comment, talk to me. It's key. I'm quarantining and chilling. I'm hoping to make a TikTok tonight with baby girl. She be standing me up. But yeah. So those were some of my encounters with God. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being my friend. Share my video. Tell others about me. Subscribe to my channel, my little channel. And it's key. Thank you.